Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Coach Nick Askew, head coach for the men's and women swimming and diving team here at Howard University. Thank you for joining us today here live on Black Kids Swim, celebrating their 3-year anniversary. We just got finished with a really tough 5:30 a.m. practice where our team split into 2 groups, one sprint and for distance, and the team really got after that work this morning. So they're coming in and they'll be filling in as we go throughout this live broadcast. To my left is one of our men's team captains, Nicholas Houghton from Kingston, Jamaica. Say hi, Nick.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here.
And to my right is Noah Nicholas from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Say hi, Noah.
Hey.
So, fellas, what did you think about practice this morning? Noah actually is a distance swimmer, but this morning we got a little bit taste of some sprint life. So, Noah, what did you think about having that transition from distance into sprint this morning?
Well, yeah, usually I'm a distance swimmer, so I swim a lot of distance, long swims. But today I needed to change it up a little bit, so I needed to work on a little sprint. So we did, I think, 6 100s off the block, all out, max effort. And then we increased the interval every 2 100s. So it was pretty tough. I wasn't expect to get a headache at the end, but I hung in there. It was good.
Good. No, Nick is actually he's a mid-distance swimmer. He likes to do sprint, but he also goes and trains really hard in the distance lanes. Nick did distance this morning. What did you think about the workout?
I thought the workout was challenging. It was good and rewarding. We had a 175 where we had to beat our best 200 time. Then we had a 300 of active recovery, focusing on our breathing pattern. Then we had two 175s, beating our 200 time. Then a 300, then 3 175s, and then the 300. So it was tough, but it felt good to finish and be hitting the times on most of those 175s.
Nice. So we had 2 more people join us. We have Malik Nixon from Peachtree City, Georgia. So we got Georgia on this side. I don't know how that worked out so conveniently, but we got Malik Nixon here, who also swam sprint this morning. What did you think about the workout?
Definitely, we've done a variation of this stuff before, and the fact that we do get a lot of rest between the hundreds is nice, but that also makes sure that you're really getting a lot of that lactic acid. It's definitely very painful. Like, you think that the rest you're getting is going to be really nice, like you get a little chance to relax, but it hits you pretty quickly.
After like number 2.
Oh, no, it hits you immediately.
We also have joining us Christian Nicholas, who just recently qualified for the NCAA zone competition coming up in March. So it's a big clap for her. This is the first NCAA qualifier we've had in the program in almost a decade. So we're really excited about that and the competition she had. Kristen, tell us a little bit about your workout this morning.
I think it was pretty good. I started with cardio upstairs, and then we went downstairs, and I stretched a bit, and then I just did basic things so that I can work on simple stuff so that my dives become clear.
Nice. How did it feel when you found out that your scores from this weekend not only scored first against the A10 conference champions, George Washington University, but also qualified you for the NCAAs?
I was really shocked because I knew what the score was to qualify, and I've come close before, but not. I didn't think I was going to get it until towards the end of the season. It's been a goal since the beginning. I didn't really think about it much last year because I didn't really know what was going on. But it's definitely been a goal, and I'm
Nice. Again, we're here with Black Kids Swim Live. We're happy to celebrate their 3-year anniversary. Looking forward to answering any of the questions that you all have, whether live or we do have some questions that are coming that have already been sent in. Have the team here happy to answer anything you need to know about what the collegiate level is like and how these swimmers and divers got here.
So we do have a question from one of the members of our Facebook group. This is Miss Love, and she would like to know, how does it feel for the incoming freshman to be named Swimmer of the Week by the CCSA? She's so proud of the entire team and coach and enjoys watching the team continue their legacy and blaze new paths.
Fantastic. I guess you're referring to Miguel Davis, who was most recently selected as for the weekly honors. Unfortunately, I think he's in the training room. He's getting some ice for his shoulder.
Okay.
Life as a swimmer and a diver is pretty tough. There's a lot of work that gets put in day in and day out, and it takes a toll on the body. So we're making sure that we have the swimmers and the divers have access to the athletic training staff and are taking care of their body. So I guess I get to answer that question on Miguel's behalf. At the meet, I can tell you, Miguel has been working through some injury and getting used to the Division I collegiate environment. And one of the things that Miguel has been continually doing is competing really, really strong. This weekend, he was excited about swimming against GW, who was, not really a rival, but because they're across town, we consider that, that to be some really competitive swimming and diving going on. And Miguel, before the event, came up to me and was like, "Coach, I'm going after this 100 breaststroke. I think I can win it." I said, "Let's go get it, big guy." And lo and behold, he went out there, swam super strong, won the event. And then directly thereafter, in a couple days, he was nominated for Conference Swimmer of the Week. And then he actually was awarded Conference Swimmer of the Week. So when the announcement came out, he had a big smile on his face like he usually does, but it was a little bit bigger. And it's so cool to see some of our local product from the DMV area representing St. John's High School, representing DC Wave, come in and do such a great job.
Excellent, Coach. Thank you. Can you talk a bit about your recruiting style and what you look for in swimmers? We have a lot of parents who are members of the Black Kids Swim community whose children want to swim at the collegiate level, but aren't quite sure what they need to be doing now so that they can be wearing the Bison uniform in a few years.
Absolutely. I think, the team will tell you our number one priority is what? Academic success, right? We preach that, from the moment they're being recruited to the moment they're matriculating all the way through graduation. So the first and foremost thing we're looking for is strong academics. Doesn't matter how fast you are, how great you are, a swimmer or a diver. If you don't have the grades to get accepted into Howard University or any other university, it's not going to matter. There's not a lot of strings that can be pulled to make the admissions choose to go a different direction. So academics has to come first when you're in high school and middle school, so that you have a great chance of being accepted, as well as having a great opportunity to receive an academic scholarship. The next is obviously swimming and diving performance. So for our swimmers, we are pretty dynamic. We're looking forward to having them, swim multiple events. Don't get just rooted into that 50 freestyle, all right? Because all of the world swims the 50 freestyle. All of the world wants to swim 50 freestyle. And then they stretch out maybe a little bit to the 100 freestyle. But the more dynamic you are, the more versatile you are as a swimmer and as a diver. Don't get pigeonholed in just a few dives. Work on your twisters, work on your 3-meter diving. That way you can make a much bigger impact when you come into the competitive Division I or Division II, Division III swimming world, because the coaches and the programs want to be able to look at you not just as one type of swimmer. They want to be able to see where they can put you in a couple different fits. And I think, Noah and Nick, they can talk a little bit about how they've grown in their different swims.
But usually back home, I used to my coach used to have me do everything. So, from the 50 to the mile.
Who's your coach? Give him a shout out.
Coach Tommy Jackson. Hey, is he here? Hey, CAD, Atlanta. Woo! All right. But yeah, I used to swim from the 50 to the mile. I used to swim like 10, 12 events every meet. It was intense. And so he just trained us like that so we can build up that speed endurance and so we can have that versatility that coach is talking about. So when I came here, I could swim like the 400 IM, the 200 IM, and I could swim from 200 and up all the way up to the mile. So I think that really helped me a lot. And I'm continuing working on that. And so it's just made me a better swimmer all the way.
Yeah, just like Noah, when I first started out my age group swimming career, my coaches made me swim pretty much every event in the book, from 50 free to 200 breast to 200 fly to the 400 IM. I think that really helped my development in terms of when the time came to eventually specialize in certain events. I was able to adapt to what the events I swim now require of me. Now I swim the 100, the 200, the 500, and I originally swam the 1,000 and 1650 in my first 2 years here. And I really think that base I had early on in my career really helped me out and made me the swimmer I am today.
Nice. Kristen, how have you opened up and what new things have you been working on this year?
Before I came here, I was a gymnast, and diving was pretty new to me when I started talking to Coach Nick. I started off with just doing the 1 meter board, which is the lower level, if you guys don't know. And then I started doing 3 meter before I came here. Not as much as probably another person that would be going to a D1 school, but I was still working hard at it. I came here and I started working it more and ended up competing at conference, and I did pretty well. So I worked with all of the options that I had.
All right, thank you. We had Miguel just join us. We know he's on his way to class, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Miguel Davis. I'm a freshman poli-sci major from Temple Hills, Maryland, and I would stay and answer questions, but I have to get to class.
Because what's first? There you go.
Yeah, so.
So can we do that? Can each of you guys give us this famous Howard University student introduction that I've heard so much about?
Sure.
Good morning, Malik Nixon, junior supply chain management major from Peachtree City, Georgia.
Hey guys, my name is Noah Nicholas. I'm a junior sports medicine major from Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Whoa. As a Howard alum, I know my Howard intro too. Right? Nicholas Askew from Kinston, North Carolina, graduate of the illustrious Howard University.
Nicholas Houghton. I'm a graduating senior finance major from Kingston, Jamaica.
I'm Christian Nicholas. I'm a sophomore sports medicine major, chemistry minor from Brentwood, California.
So Nicholas from Jamaica, you're not the only student that's not born and raised here in the U.S. And I'd just like for you to tell us a little bit about how the team has welcomed you to the Hill, to Washington, D.C., and to the U.S.
The team, it really helped because it was not an easy transition coming here from Jamaica at all. But the team, Coach Nick, and everyone just made the transition so much easier than it really should have been. They're really welcoming. It's a real family environment, and it feels weird just calling them the team because it's more of a family. Like this is my friend group here at school. So it really helped. It helps to know that on days when I'm homesick or not in the best mood, I can call on pretty much anyone here to just talk or get stuff off my chest. So I'm really grateful for that.
Thank you. Coach Nick, can you talk about your recruiting of international students?
Absolutely. When I think about recruiting and filling the team and the position, the roster spots that we have, I want the team to be a reflection of Howard University. I want the team to be as diverse as possible, to show, again, the type of diversity and inclusion that we have at Howard University. So most of our recruiting comes from individuals from the African diaspora. So we're looking at young men and women from the continent of Africa, from the Caribbean region, all the Caribbean islands, as well as the continental U.S. and abroad. We love having that diversity within our program, both from international perspective, also from socioeconomic perspective, also from a racial perspective. Our university was built on the principle of inclusiveness. So anyone is welcome here. Anyone is going to feel that welcoming spirit, that family spirit when they join our program and they come to Howard University. And as I look to recruit, swimming is pretty simple when it comes to recruiting. We go on academic standards, so the SAT, ACT scores, and GPAs, which all have a pretty much a finite number. And then we go on for swimming, we look at times, which pretty much are finite numbers. So we get to make that comparison from one swimmer to another based on the times that they're doing in each event And then for diving, looking at the diving list and the scores associated with those particular dives, and really measuring those up, and making sure that the young men and women that are coming into our program are the right fit, because we've absolutely embraced an incredible culture here in the program of hard work, and just making sure that we hold each other accountable and being sure that everyone is contributing.
Excellent. And I'm so glad you mentioned our children's love for the 50 free. Everybody wants to do the 50 free. No one wants to swim the mile, but that's exactly why if you're good at the mile, you're more likely to get a scholarship.
That's right.
And we have a question from Kiana, who's also on our Facebook group. She asks, how do I gain more exposure for my daughter in respect to obtaining scholarships?
I think, why don't you guys talk about how you reached out to Howard, to me, and maybe the other programs, and try to get yourselves out there.
Oh, you're talking about reaching out to you?
Yeah, so from a recruiting perspective.
So I think what I did is I think I contacted you in the summer of my junior year, and I just said, hey, Coach Askew, I'm interested in Howard University. I think I'm leaning towards this major, and here are my best swim times, etc. And then he responded, it's like, hey, these are the scholarship times, and you should try to meet these scholarship times. And that's the best way to get a scholarship. But it's not just that. It's like you said, it's your grades. So you have to keep the grades, your GPA up, and you have to make those scholarship times in order to get a scholarship.
I think like what Noah said at the start, closed mouths don't get fed. So, it's really important to make sure that you initiate that first contact with your prospective coaches in school at the schools that you're interested in. So what I did, I think it was December of my final year of high school back home. I went on Howard's website, filled out the recruitment form. I had all my times, had my GPA, my previous SAT score. And I think within like the next 3 days, Coach Nick, he reached out back to me and said, yeah, I really like your grades, I really like your times, I think you'd be a good fit. And so what I want from you is I'm going to send you send you the scholarship times, and if you're able to meet these, we can have a really serious conversation about you being able to come here. So it's all about you initiating that first contact with the coaches, with the schools that you want to go to.
Malik has I think interesting story as well. Malik, why don't you tell them what your recruiting process was like?
So for me personally, Coach Nick did recruit me. I went through the recruiting process my junior year as well. But one of the things that changed for me was that I was indecisive, going back and forth between Howard University and another school, and I actually ended up attending a separate university my first year. And so, went through the situation of my freshman year, but then at the end of that freshman year, Coach Nick came back to me, and I kept the connection open. I kept the conversation going with him the entirety of my freshman year, and let him know that I was still very interested, and if he was wanting to have me, that I would love to come to Howard. And so my experience is a little different because I could have been here as a freshman, but looking in as a transfer student, it changes the entire experience, because coming onto the team, people who have been here, other juniors, have been here since their freshman year, and the recruiting is just a little different because you have to have a little bit more of a brutal, honest conversation. Is this something that you're really wanting to do? Are you really wanting to, in essence, start over by removing whatever you were doing before and then changing it to the Howard University experience? And so I would say for me, the recruiting was not stressful, only because Coach Nick is very, very good about keeping open communication. He loves to be able to know how you're doing. How are you feeling? What is the process that's occurring for you right now? And I think for me personally, it really solidified how I knew my sophomore year was going to go, because I had been keeping in contact with him. He knew exactly how I was feeling. And when we finally solidified the decision, it made me feel much happier than I had been previously.
And just onto the exposure piece again, is you want to reach out to the schools that you're interested in. You want to get on their radar. The other thing I always tell our prospects is, please continue to update me with as much information as possible. Don't send one email and then expect for the whole world to open up, to you. You've got to continue to send emails, even when you haven't gotten a response. Send the text messages if you've already made the connection with the coach or the assistant coach or whoever's in charge of recruiting, to stay on their radar. Because if you send one email and then you don't send another email expecting them just to come running towards you, then you're probably going to, struggle through the recruiting process. Make sure that you follow up even when the coach may not have gotten back to you, because the difficult part of our recruiting season is it's during our regular competitive season. So during that time, it's really difficult for most head coaches and even assistant coaches to respond to emails and text messages, but they will continue to see your information as you're training, as you're getting faster, your schedule, the different dive meets that you're going to. So continue to follow up with them, and also follow with them with any new scores or any new achievements. If you were named captain of your swimming and diving team, if you made the honor roll, if you made the dean's list or anything like that, you want to keep giving them information to put some more meat on the bones, when coaches are looking to recruit you.
Excellent. I know we've all heard of the black line, right? Just chasing that black line up and down the pool, and the hours of practice that you have to put in to be a competitive swimmer. And it is a year-round sport. We get emails from parents and kids who sometimes get discouraged because it's a very challenging sport, both mentally and physically. So I'd like to ask the swimmers, what did you do as an age group swimmer to stay motivated to remain in the sport?
I'm going to go grab some of our ladies too.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
No problem.
I'll start. For me, there was a time where I did fall out of love with the sport when I was around 15. I was on a plateau, not really improving my time so much. Training was getting more and more frustrating. So what I did was I took some time off of the events that I normally swam, and just, like I said earlier, I had a wide base when I was younger, so I did some different events. I stopped really swimming the 100, 200, 400 free. Started swimming more 200 IM, more 100 back, 200 fly, 100 fly. And that being able to train and focus on those other strokes and events, it eventually helped me. It eventually helped me to, eventually drop time again in my favorite events. So, and also taking time off from the sport, but not too much time off, is important, because being burned out is it's a real thing. And it affects a lot of, not just swimmers, but athletes in general. So, it's important to make sure you take a little space every now and again to just refresh yourself. So that's pretty much my story with it.
Can you talk about that a little bit more, that taking time off? What is a good amount of time so that we ensure that you do come back, and what do you do during that time off?
Well, when I did it, this was, I want to say it was around my second to last year of high school. I'd taken maybe a week and a half out of the pool, but I wasn't inactive. I was still running. I was doing exercise, other things. Keep finding other ways to occupy myself, whether it was through my schoolwork or just other forms of exercise. But keep your mind and your body active, but still taking a break from the grind, from that everyday grind of being in the pool, swimming up and down, because it really does take a mental toll every now and again.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
Going off of what Nick said, my mom used to always tell me, it's always good to keep a healthy balance. So you have swimming, and you swim 20 hours a week, but you also need time for social things, stuff to have fun. You need to go out, go out to parties, go have fun with your friends, stuff like that. But because if you're in the pool all the time and you're just swimming, you're not doing anything, going home, going to sleep, you will get burned out. So you have to have time, and you have to have time to mingle with your friends. And that's one of the things that we have here. And back home, when you're on a club team, find friends that you're close with. Find people that you like to race with, that you can talk about swimming with. It makes swimming much more fun. Once you're racing in practice and racing in the meets and stuff, and you're like, hey, I went this time. Hey, I went this time. Like, oh, I almost beat you. I almost got you. Yeah, it makes it a lot more fun than just, swimming and then, I was close to my time,
Who'd you race this morning?
I was racing Steven this morning. Woo! He got me on a couple. I think I got him on 2. All right, I got him on 2 100, but it was good.
I saw you on that last one.
Yeah,
Last
yeah,
one,
you
yeah,
see,
yeah.
I was dying.
I said,
But yeah, and then you gotta get motivated as well. Like on the last one, I was telling the guys, I was like, "Yo, this is the 4x200 free relay right here. We gotta push it, right?" So be that person that motivates everybody in practice, and I think that you can motivate your team, and you can also motivate yourself by motivating other people. So
So I think when it comes to the discouragement about doing age group swimming, like a lot of what they've been talking about, that making sure that you're like, yes, age group swimming essentially becomes all of your extra time. Like when it comes to being on a club team, literally it's school, practice, homework, compete throughout the entirety of the year, and then during summer you just end up taking out school and adding 2 more practices. So like I think the hardest part about overcoming that, that being discouraged is really just trying to find the reason that you even wanted to start in the first place. And so thinking about, what is it about swimming that makes you want to work so hard? What is it about it that makes you want to push yourself, makes you want to feel uncomfortable, feel that pain, the pain that's good for you, like that's growing. I think a lot of age group swimmers do feel as though it becomes either boring or too much because it's there every day, it's there every hour. But if you can connect with that point that makes it to, once again, where it's a passion for you, that's where a lot of your progress comes from, and that's what keeps a lot of age group swimmers going, and what makes them want to continue to swim in college. And they realize, this is what I love to do. Like, this sport isn't like any other. Like, it gives you a feeling that makes you want to continue. I think that discouragement, it's super common, but I think it's also pretty easy to overcome.
Can we get an answer from one of our lovely ladies?
Why don't
Howard intro, Howard intro.
I gotta give you a Howard intro first and then answer.
Please.
Hi, my name is Cassandra Kaplan. I'm a senior in sports medicine major from Detroit.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Simone Outlaw. I'm a freshman business management major from Burlington, New Jersey.
So the question that I asked, and I'll change it a little bit for you all, swimming is a very demanding sport. It takes a lot of time, and age group swimmers can get discouraged. They can start to lose interest in the sport. An added reason for discouragement in our community can be the fact that they're the only person of color on their team or the only African American on their team. So in your experience, how did you stay motivated? What made you stay in the sport and stick with swimming and diving?
In my personal experience, mainly my team and my coaches and my peers helped me keep swimming, and just the fact that swimming has been like the most important thing in my life. And when I work hard and I see the results, that kind of makes me want to keep doing it to improve, and it not only improve myself in the pool, but outside of the pool.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I don't get my fastest times, it still pushes me to keep going, because nothing comes easy in life. So when you go through the hard times, you just have to overcome it mentally. And once you do that, you can do anything. So that's what really made me keep pushing, to trying to get better.
I would say definitely the team, because when I was younger, I hated swimming. I went through a period when I loved swimming when I was about 8 to 12 years old, and then I started falling off, and I just wasn't motivated anymore. I didn't really like it. I just went to practice and went through the motions, and but then I switched teams my junior year in high school, and definitely the team atmosphere was a lot better. It was more competitive. We had better competition at the meets, and I knew I had goals I wanted to reach, so I knew that I had to be motivated to get the goals to get where I am today.
Chrissy.
Okay, for me, when I wanted to stop gymnastics, I think one of the major things that has been motivating me this whole time is my mom, because she's been very supportive of every decision that I've made since I stopped gymnastics and transitioned into diving. Of course, when I got here, one of the major things that has been motivating me is the team. I started diving here with another diver, and he stopped, and that was hard because I was by myself. But even though I was at practice by myself, the team has always been around. That makes sense.
Yeah. We're dying at the same time. She's looking graceful.
Okay. So what's it like being on the only swim team of any historically Black college or university in the country? What's that feel like? What's that responsibility like?
I would say it's incredibly empowering, like knowing that in a sport that rarely ever showcases people of color, that we exist as the only team full of people who love this sport that isn't normally dominated by people who look like us, but we're able to show that we can hang with the big dogs. Like we can be just as fast, we can be just as passionate as any other school. I think being that Howard does have the only HBCU swim team that's also Division I, mind you, I think it's really strengthening. I know it shows for a lot of people that even though there may be one doesn't mean that it's alone. One can be just as mighty as any other.
Yeah.
I think we could be role models. I think when we go to meets, and like it's a lot of pressure, but I think pressure is a privilege. And so we have that, and then we also have we want to do best time. So that in itself just makes us want to go faster, and we have something to prove. So we're gonna prove it.
One thing I'll add is, as a part of the team, what's incredible is when we go to swim meets or we'll go anywhere. Last year we were competing against Barton College down in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. And before the meet had started, there were some young people, probably 8 and unders that just finished their swim lessons, et cetera. And there was a little boy there who just could not stop watching the team. And his eyes were just fixed. The mom was like, "Come on, we've got to go." And he just could not believe that he was seeing the team, it come, full force, 30 people deep and getting ready for the competition. And another thing, I'll add is just 2 weeks ago, and I read this to the team during our annual Thanksgiving dinner, but to get the emails, we got an email from a young lady out of Illinois just randomly. And it was just a thank you letter. She's an 8th grader. She's the only female of color in our program. She's an elite swimmer, and she just said thank you for showing an example of what swimming at the highest college level is like. And that was especially made me really, really proud, not only of this program, but what we're doing. These young men, these young women, and I wanted to make sure I read it to them so they also understand that hey, we may not see it every day. Someone's not coming in the door and saying, "Hey, thank you for swimming, and thank you for holding up the banner. Thank you for giving us that perspective." We may not get that thank you every day, but when we do, especially out of the blue from a young lady or a young man, or even parents that we've never interacted with before, it's really, really a powerful, situation. And I think that also kind of allows them to, like we talked about swimming on that black line, it gives them more encouragement to keep going forward and keep pushing to do their best because they know it's not just about them.
To add on, sometimes I don't think we realize, as a team, how much we impact other people in the world. And it truly is a blessing to be able to continue on the legacy of Black swimming and to show that we're still here and we're here to dominate and keep it going.
Anyone else?
I think growing up doing sports that there is little to no representation of Black people at all. I would see 1 or 2 people of color and I would be shocked and I would feel happy. But then thinking about younger people seeing a whole team of us, I can't imagine what they feel like. So I think it's important for us to keep doing.
And I can't thank enough, Howard University for allowing us to continue to be in this position. From President Frederick, who continually supports us, all the way to our athletic director, Mr. Miguel Davis, who continually supports our program. We can't thank them enough for continuing to allow us to have more and more resources so that we can continue to get better, so that we can recruit the top talent, so that we can train the top talent that we have on the team. And I think that's the big difference of why other HBCUs either cancel their programs or don't start one, is just the leadership from the top has to believe in the value of it. And we're hopeful that other university presidents and athletic directors will say, hey man, Howard University is really doing it up. They're doing a great job. Why can't we? Because in my opinion, I definitely think they could. And I definitely think it would be a powerful movement, just to have 2 or 3 other HBCUs bringing back their programs. It would also, make a great experience for these young men and women to be able to compete against, other HBCU programs as well.
Excellent. And you spoke earlier, Coach Askew, about you don't always get those thank yous of people saying that, but you are getting a lot of thank yous in our Facebook group today. Veronica actually just wrote in to say, hey, Coach Askew, great meeting you in January when we were in DC. Thanks again for chatting with Mackenzie about swimming, and happy birthday to Black Kids Swim.
Yes. Hi, Veronica. Hi, Mackenzie.
So let's talk about it. You all mentioned what it's like to be one of the only people on a team, or how amazing it is for people to see the Howard University swim and dive team walk into a competition. Why is that? I mean, there are 300,000 members of USA Swimming, and less than 1.3% are African American. Coming from a legacy, a diaspora of people that were literally the people to invent the freestyle, some of the greatest swimmers on the globe, why is it the way it is right now in the US? Why don't more African Americans swim?
It comes from a fear. So I last year I joined the lifeguarding team here at Burr, and we lifeguard swim classes. Howard University, COAS, College of Arts and Sciences requires that all their students take a swim class in order to graduate and pass.
What's one of the things they have to do? They have to sing the swim
yes,
song?
they had to tread water.
It's not just us song. It's the alma mater.
Yeah, the alma mater.
Recite the alma
Right.
So they had to tread water and recite the alma mater at the same time. But a lot, when I used to help teach the students as well, and a lot of problems come from just previous experience, like past traumatic experiences where they've almost drowned in the pool. And so they've grown up, having this fear of the pool. They would go to the beach but not get in the water, sit around the pool but not really get in the water, or stay in the shallow end. And now they're being forced into this position where they have to get into the deep water, and they start panicking, and sometimes they would be doing fine, and then all of a sudden they get in their head and their hips sink, and they sit up and they start panicking. And so I think that's where it stems from. So it's just a fear, and I think that African American population has to you have to get into that exposure to the water so that people get more comfortable with the water. I think my mom did this, and I think a lot of other people did this on swim team, but their parents put us into swim lessons early so that we would not have that fear. I think that's very important as well. Don't wait till like you're 15, 16 or up or more, but it's never too late to swim. So don't ever think that I'm 20 or I'm 25 or I'm 30, 40, 50. It's never too late to swim. Okay, just get a good swim instructor and you can do it.
I think another one of the biggest reasons is resource. Like, I know that in a lot of African American communities, like pools, teams they don't exist. Like swimming in and of itself.
And splash parks.
Yeah, right. No, right. Like swim teams, or just swimming in general, is actually a very expensive sport. Like when you think about dues that you pay for club teams, a lot of families on average, like that's just an expense that they may not be wanting to pay. As great of an experience they know swimming is for their children, paying upwards of hundreds of $100s a month for swimming is not something that a lot of families just want to do. They don't want to add that expense. And I know that a lot of communities don't have pools readily by. Some have a YMCA, but most aren't going to have somewhere that kids can readily go learn how to swim and then continue to swim, have a team that will push them. So I think one of the biggest issues is a part of that privilege, just being able to be in an area where your kids will easily have that access. A lot of times parents have to search for it. A lot of times parents have to travel for it. I think that's a big barrier as to why a lot of Black communities and Black families don't have their kids do swimming, because it's not always as accessible as they want it to be.
My parents used to drive me 45 minutes one way every single day, sometimes twice a day, to swim practice. So I used to drive across Atlanta and then back and then go back again and then back. What is that, like 3-hour drive? It's a 3-hour drive every day.
They were very happy when you got your driver's license.
Oh, yes. And my mom was sick of it. She's like, I'm glad you're going to college. I don't have to drive anymore. I'm not driving anywhere. I was like, I'm sorry, Mom. But it was all worth it at the end, I think so.
Yes, please.
I don't know about for males, but I know African American females, I think a big issue is your hair. Like people,
say it louder.
Your hair. Your hair, because I tell people I swim and they're like, oh my gosh, we have such pretty hair. How do you keep up with it? And I'm like, I have to comb it out when I get out of practice, and I do that twice a day. And they're just like, oh, I couldn't do that. I would never.
Deep condition.
Yeah. And Black girls don't like to get their hair wet. So I feel like that's another issue.
It is. So I'm going to ask you again, yes, hair is a huge issue. Can you just briefly let our audience know what your hair care routine is?
Sure. So
Mine?
Oh, yes.
So right when I get out of practice, I comb my hair. So we have showers in the locker room, and I leave conditioner in my locker and a comb, and I comb my hair, leave the conditioner in it, and then that's about it. So, but it's every time I get out of the pool. So even if I don't dunk my hair, so when I take my cap off, I usually don't dunk my hair in the water so it doesn't get full of chlorine, because when I swim, not a lot of water gets in my cap, but I just don't like to put my whole head in the water because the chlorine is bad for my hair, so I try to avoid that as much as I can. But definitely deep condition. I deep condition at least every 2 weeks, and I'll sit and put deep conditioner in my hair and then just sit for 30 minutes with a shower cap on and just let it sit in my hair and then rinse it out.
Everyone's hair is different. So I used to wash my hair every day, but I don't anymore. But the most important thing that I do is I keep my hair moisturized no matter what. So I'll get leave-in conditioner and I keep oil in my hair. Just make sure that it's not dry and broken off. Just keep your hair moisturized.
If I don't wash my hair right after practice here, I'll wash it in my room. I try to get all the chlorine out. So if I'm not putting shampoo in it, I'll at least rinse it out and put conditioner in it, let it sit. And then again, I make sure my hair is oiled and moisturized. Combing it out is important too.
Okay. And all the gentlemen have hair also. What is your beauty regimen?
They take longer in the locker room.
So I know, at least for me, I've been trying to do a better job of when we finish practice, normally myself and a lot of the guys we'll immediately take off our caps and we'll dunk our heads under the water. So that's fully chlorine right there. But immediately after, I think what a lot of us try to do is go into the shower and first try to rinse off as much of the chlorine as you can. A lot of us bring shampoo and conditioner to the pool, so that way you can just go ahead and try to get all the chlorine out immediately. And then I know a few of us do have leave-in conditioners, as you're going through your day, after you leave practice, that your hair isn't just sitting there dry.
Sorry.
Yep.
And what about skin? Do you have to do anything special?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Shea butter.
Cocoa butter lotion.
Yes, shea butter.
Shea butter, coconut oil, lotion.
Mhm.
My skin cracking
Make
out.
sure you shower first.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Get
that shower with
your
soap.
skin
Mhm.
off.
Wash the chlorine off.
Wash your
and-
body off
Yeah, and then apply whatever moisturizer
before
you
you
use.
burn.
You gotta use,
Cannot be ashy.
you can't, yeah, you gotta use a good soap too.
Yeah.
Use the cheap soap. It's gonna dry your skin out even more because it takes all the moisture out of it. So you gotta use a good soap, a good body wash,
Mhm.
and then
Irish
good
Spring.
lotion or oil.
Dove.
I love that.
Yes.
So I do want to make a plug. You all spoke about the difficulty in finding a team or finding a swim instructor. We are always happy at Black Kids Swim to answer those questions, to connect families with teams. And we also always encourage families who love their team, who love their swim instructor, to please share their information with us so we can then share that information with the community, because that is a huge issue. The two biggest questions we get are, where is a welcoming, diverse swim team, and what should I do with my child's hair? So we try to answer those questions as accurately as possible. So what are your goals? You're all swimming in college, all doing a fabulous job. What are your plans after college?
Stay in good shape.
Oh yeah, okay. So just to clarify, you mean both? Is it just with swimming or with like occupation wise?
Both.
So I know for me, after college, I'll probably do the best I can to continue swimming. I know for sure that I'll continue like just working out in general, just because like I really enjoy exercising, so I'll continue doing that. Occupation wise, I'll probably try to work for a reputable company like with their supply chain industry or their sector, mostly because I've been really interested about how that works globally or internationally between companies. And so I haven't specifically decided, or I'm only a junior, so I'm still working on internships. But I don't know where I'm wanting to work, but I know I kind of know what field I'm looking to go into.
Okay.
So I want to go into orthopedics as a physician assistant. And so graduate school is, I think, 2 years. So I think I'm gonna take 1 or 2 years off from after I graduate, and then go apply and start going to graduate school. I think for swimming, I think I'm gonna swim. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna swim for like forever. Yeah, right. So like I'm 100. I'm gonna be that old guy.
Right? By himself in the pool.
I'm still gonna be doing the butterflies.
Okay.
I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be that old master swimmer. Yes.
I was gonna say masters.
I'm still gonna be good.
Well, I'm definitely going to keep in shape and keep swimming because most swimmers, they once they stop swimming, it's kind of so. But I also am going to go to graduate school and work to be a sports psychologist.
Oh, well, maybe I'll swim masters. But I'll definitely swim to keep in shape. I'll still, I will. Just because of that, I will. I'll definitely still stay in the gym, find other ways to keep fit, and occupation-wise, I'm hoping to transition into financial services, whether it's sales and trading or investment and wealth management, before eventually transitioning back into graduate school to get my MBA.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So we all we're a nonprofit, and we always accept tax deductible donations, Nick.
Yeah.
So when you start,
Making that big money.
I got you.
thank you. Remember.
After college, I'm definitely going to keep in shape. I like to exercise a lot, doing different things.
And she recently just took up swimming. And although she is a diver, one of the things most people probably don't know is a lot of divers don't really have a strong swimming background. So Christian, over the summer, took swim lessons and kept swimming. She's got in phenomenal shape. It's obviously paying off dividends, and she's just in love with swimming so much. So much so that she's been swimming events for us, anchoring relays. All right. So I definitely see you in masters swimming after,
I
after
think-
graduation.
Yes.
I think I'm done with water sports after
Oh my
graduation, especially with diving, because there comes a point where your joints don't really work like that anymore.
Are you young? What you talking
I know.
You don't need to worry about
What
that.
am I gonna do?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, and then I'm a sports medicine major, and I'm not really sure what I want to do with that yet, but I haven't figured out. But definitely something in medical.
So I'm gonna keep swimming because I know that I will gain a lot of weight if I don't. So I'll definitely keep in shape. Like I like going to the gym and working out. So I'll definitely do that. And occupation-wise, I want to get my MBA and JD in the joint program because I want to be a civil rights lawyer and on my own civil rights.
Okay. That's school of business right there.
Thank you. So once again, we want to thank you, Coach Askew. We want to thank Howard University, the Howard University Swim and Dive team, all of you. For our viewers at home, it is snowing like crazy outside. So these kids were kind enough after a very long and grueling morning practice to spend some time with Black Kids Swim on our 3rd birthday, and we are eternally grateful. We just want to ask one final question. For all of the age group swimmers, the 8 and unders who look up to you guys like you wouldn't believe, what is some advice for the generation of Black swimmers coming after you?
Do you guys watch Finding Nemo?
I was thinking that too. I was just thinking that too.
Just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming.
Surround yourself with positive people who inspire you to get better.
Yeah.
Learn to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Push through the pain.
Train for the pain.
Train for the pain.
Don't focus on the short term. Don't focus on the short term. Focus on the long term. It's always important to play the long game with a sport like swimming.
It's good.
Have fun.
I think we owe Black Kids Swim a happy birthday, you know?
Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
I'm not a singer.
Happy birthday to Black Kids Swim. Happy birthday to you. Oh, wait, we're about to switch it up. Ready for the switch up?
Switch it up,
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
And you guys have this chant that only Howard does?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I got it.
Yeah.
Ready? Ready?
Come here.
Ready?